Welcome back to the First Line Library. I'm Jordan, and today we're going over part 2 of my bookshelf tour. Let's get into it. Well, welcome back, everybody. I hope you all enjoyed the last video. I had a lot of fun making it. It was quite a long video, so again, it's going to be another long video. So grab yourself a cup of coffee, cold drink, something to sit down and enjoy with. All right, let's get into it. All right, starting with this first shelf here. These are going to be all of my hardcover and trade paperback, mystery thriller, and general fiction. So first I have here is The Last Word by Taylor Adams. The next are the first two in the Shady Hollow series. These are my wife's. I have not read them, but she really enjoyed them. It's kind of like a Zootopia murder mystery series. Sounds fun. Next, I have The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown, and then a couple of Agatha Christie, one of my favorites, and then There Were None, and then there's The Mysterious Affair at Styles. Then I have two Tom Clancy books, Without Remorse and Rainbow Six. And then this is I think like a cozy mystery that my wife picked up called Honey Roasted. Don't know anything about it, but it looks fun. Next I have some Michael Crichton, Timeline. This is a pretty cool first edition. Then I have Prey, Dragon Teeth, and then moving on I have the Wayward Pines trilogy. Unfortunately, I have not been able to find the third book in this trade paperback edition, so I have like this kind of newer release, but I'll be on the hunt to find the original trade paperback. And then I have Abandon. Next, I have Clive Cussler's Sahara. This is a first edition that I found at the thrift store for $2. Couldn't pass that up. Then I have Casino Royale, Live and Let Die, James Bond books, Lucy Foley, The Guest List, and then a couple of Peter Heller books that are just extras that I have. I didn't have anywhere else to put them, so they're right up here on the top. All right, moving down is my Hardy Boys collection. A few weeks ago, I only had the first three, but then my good friend over at Reformed Reader sent me the rest of, not the whole collection, but quite a few of what he had to get my collection jump started. So thanks again, Josh, for that. If you guys haven't checked out the Reformed Reader yet, I would highly encourage you go do that. I'll leave a link to his channel down in the description. So yeah, go check him out, sub to his channel because he is awesome. Moving on, I have These Silent Woods, one of my favorite books. And then The Nature of Disappearing. These are both by Kimmy Cunningham Grant. Next, I have all of my first edition hardcovers of Peter Heller books. The Dock Stars, The Painter, Celine, The River, The Guide, The Last Ranger, and his most recent, Burn. If you can't tell, Peter Heller is one of my favorite authors. And I was actually able to go see him last year and get my copy of The Dog Star signed by Peter Heller. So that was pretty awesome. So yeah, if you haven't checked out Peter Heller yet, go and do that. Definitely for a mature audience, not for young readers, but great survival mystery thriller books. So awesome. One of my favorites, The Dog Stars. All right, coming down to this next shelf, I have Anthony Horowitz, A Line to Kill, and Moriarty. I have not read those yet, but they're ready on the shelf to get read. Next, I have Point of Impact by Stephen Hunter. If you guys have ever seen the movie Shooter with Mark Wahlberg, that's what this that movie was based off of, is that book. Next is The Cold Dish by Craig Johnson. This is the first in the Longmire series. Next, I have Those Who Wish Me Dead. I really enjoyed this one. Great survival mystery thriller. Next is another great mystery, Shutter Island. Great plot twist. Next is Raylan. If you have seen the show Justified, this is the one of the books that the show is based off of. Next, I have all of my Dexter books. I've only read the first book, but I have, I think, most of the series here. Next is one of my most recent pickups is We Solve Murders. Sound really fun. Moving on, I have The Night Passage and Sea Change. These are Jesse Stone books. If I don't know if you guys ever seen the Jesse Stone movies with Tom Selleck, those are what those are based off of. Moving on, I have The Sanatorium and The Retreat by Sarah Pierce. Then I have some Christian fiction here, The Oath, House, and Monster by Frank Peretti. All right, so coming down to this next shelf, I have Riley Sager, The Only One Left. I started this one, and I only got maybe 20 or 30 pages in, and something else popped up, and I ended up setting this one off to the side, so I'll eventually get back to that one at some point. Next, I have Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This is the novelization of the Quentin Tarantino movie. And then I have Blind Sight. And then right after that, I have this book called Death on the Boardwalk. I picked this up when I was on a family vacation in South Carolina. This is based in South Carolina, in Murrells Inlet, I believe. That's where the author is from. And I also got it picked up, and I'm pretty sure it is signed by the author. Yeah, signed edition. I picked up from a used bookstore in South Carolina. Next are some Mary Kay Andrew books. These are my wife's. Another book my wife picked up. Don't know anything about it, Mosquitoland. And then coming into the rest of my general fiction here, I have The Handmaid's Tale, The Little Bee, also my wife's, a couple other books of my wife's. Then I have City of Thieves, Don Quixote, The Count of Monte Cristo, The Name of the Rose, and The Pillars of Earth. This is a pretty cool first edition that I found at the thrift store for $2. I couldn't pass that up. All right, so this next shelf, here I have something really cool. This was a Christmas gift from my sister and brother-in-law. This is a stamp that was custom to what I designed, and they picked it up for me. You can stamp your books with this to give it kind of your own library stamp. So that's pretty cool. These are some more of my wife's books. The I don't know what you would call these. The series by Laura Gilmore, and then The Nightingale and The Great Alone. And then she has The Last Christmas in Paris. I know she really enjoyed that. Next, I have some Hemingway. This is a short story collection. Farewell to Arms, another short story collection, In Our Time. And then The Old Man in the Sea. Next, I have The Iliad, Homer. And then I have the first two books in the, I don't know what this series is called, but that's the Before the Coffee Gets Cold series. Pretty fun short reads. Next is another book, my wife's, The Soulmate Equation. And then I have this book called Whiskey When We're Dry. Not too sure what this is about, other than that it's a Western. Then one of my wife's first pickups when she got back into reading, called The Luck of the Titanic. She really enjoyed that. And then another one of hers, The Matchmaker's Gift. I think she would probably recommend this to anybody. And then I have some Jack London here, The Call of the Wild. This is a pretty cool hardcover edition. And then White Fang. And then I have Station 11. And then one of my favorite books of all time, The Road by Cormac McCarthy. Then I have No Country for Old Men, Outer Dark, and Child of God. All right, move it down to the next shelf here. I have a couple more Cormac McCarthy books. I have All the Pretty Horses and Cities of the Plains, or City of the Plains. And then I have some Larry McMurtry, Boone's Lick, and then The Last Kind Words Saloon. This one was actually
Pretty quick read, pretty enjoyable, about Doc Holliday and Wyatt Earp. Next, I have this book. I have not read it yet, but it's called The Memoirs of Stockholm Sven. This is, I believe, kind of this man's life story, living on the island Svalbard, near the North Pole. And then this is a book that my wife picked up called The Clockmaker's Daughter. And then she also has The Time Traveler's Wife. This one's really cool. This is a Folio Society copy of 1984. I picked this up from an antique store for $5. It is in immaculate condition, and I think it's going for well over $100 on eBay right now. So that was an awesome find for only $5. Next, I have some Gary Paulson, one of my favorite books, Hatchet. Then Dog Song, and then Woods Runner. And then I have a copy of Holes, also a classic. I know a lot of people in my generation read this in school. And then a couple of other books of my wife's. These are the Auntie series. They're like romance, murder mysteries. She really enjoyed those. And then the last novel here I have is Butcher's Crossing. Really want to get into this as soon as possible. Another Western book. And then moving on, I have all of my Walking Dead graphic novels. I think I'm missing a couple of volumes, but most of the series is here in either of these bigger volumes or these single volumes. And then I have a couple more graphic novels, Amulet, The Zombie Survival Guide, Recorded Attacks by Max Brooks, The Harlem Hellfires by Max Brooks, and then this little handbook, Bone Handbook, from Jeff Smith. So that's this shelf. All right, so we made it to this last shelf in here. As you can see, there's a lot of Star Wars, so let's get into it. First here I have Revenge of the Sith. Behind it I have Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, and then I have this copy of the original trilogy in hardcover. Then I have The Force Awakens 2. I have this Rise of the Empire series here in paperback. Then moving on, I have this series by Timothy Zahn. This is like the Heir of the Empire, Dark Force Rising series. Probably one of the most well-known series. Then I have Shadow of the Empire by Steve Perry. Then I have these two short books. One is on Darth Vader, one is on Darth Maul. And then I have this newer trade paperback of Death Troopers. And then I have one of my favorite Star Wars series by Drew Kaparshian. I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name, but Path of Destruction, probably one of my top favorite books. And then I have all these mass markets. I have Red Harvest, a newer copy of Splinter of the Mind's Eye. Then I have Old Republic Raven, Darth Plagueis, a couple books in the Republic Commando series, Vector Prime, The Mandalorian Armor, and then I have some OG copies of the original trilogy, and then an OG copy of Splinter of the Mind's Eye. And then I have this nice small little X-Wing fighter, and then just a cheap plastic Darth Vader lightsaber. All right, so moving on to the next shelf. As you can see, this is my Tolkien shelf. So I have this trade paperback collection of The Lord of the Rings. Below that, I have my first copy of The Hobbit that I ever picked up. Then I have the Book of Lost Tales in hardcover, The Fall of Gondolin, The Nature of Middle-earth, and The Fall of Numenor. And this is really cool. It's kind of hard to see it in this lighting, but all these bookmarks make up the map of Middle-earth. My wife got that for me for a birthday present last year. Next, I have these copies of The Lord of the Rings. Found all these in pretty much brand new condition, either on the used website or the thrift store. Next, I have a newer copy of The Hobbit that I picked up that mimics the original, one of the original designs that Tolkien himself made. Then I have Unfinished Tales, and then I have the History of Middle Earth here. Right above that, I have a copy of the Silmarillion, and then some beat up copies of Two Towers and The Return of the King, and then another copy of The Hobbit. Then right next to that, I have one of my favorite bookmarks from our boys Talking Story here on YouTube. And then I have a couple other just random graphic novels from Jeff Smith. This is his graphic novel series called Tukey. Then I have Rose, and then Razzle as well. Those are just, I had nowhere else to put them, so they're up here right now. So, all right, move on to the next shelf. All right, so this next shelf is the start of all my horror books. Move that camera out of the way. So starting here at the bottom, I have Jaws. This is a first cover edition. And then one of my favorite authors, Max Brooks. I have World War Z first hardcover and De-Evolution first hardcover. And then I have the Zombie Survival Guide. Right above that, I have the second book in the Five Nights at Freddy's series. And then The Troop by Nick Cutter. One of my favorite vampire books, The Strain by Guillermo del Toro and Chuck Hogan. If you haven't seen the TV series, it's also really good. Right above that, I have Road of Bones, and then Supermarket, and then Horror Store. This was a really fun read. This is like a a ghost story set in an IKEA type store. Right above that, I have Near the Bone, and then I have this really short book called Bonacula. I didn't know this even existed, but I found it at a thrift store and I read it in one sitting, and it was just so funny. Great, for all ages. Right above that, I have The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. And then I have We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. I haven't read that yet, but I really enjoyed The Haunting of Hill House, so I picked that up. Coming back down here, I have The Hunger. Then I have a first hardcover edition of Odd Thomas by Dean Koontz. Then I have a collection of H.P. Lovecraft. Bird Box. I have not read this, but I really enjoyed the movie. Next, I have a first hardcover edition of Interview with the Vampire. And then I have this Barnes & Noble classic edition of Frankenstein. And I'll come up to the top here. I have this copy of Dracula by Bram Stoker. Really, really enjoy this this cover. It's pretty sweet. And then I have a couple of R.L. Stine books, the Fear Street books, Relic by Preston and Child, I Am Legend, At the Mountain of Madness by H.P. Lovecraft, then Icebound by Dean Koontz, The Talisman by Stephen King and Peter Straub, Dolores Claiborne by Stephen King, Gerald's Game, Revival, and then I have The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson, and then The Legend of Sleepy Hollow and some other stories by Washington Irving. All right, so moving down to this next shelf is a continuation. I have The Terror and Abominable by Dan Simmons, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, The Ruins by Scott Smith, The Lost Village, some more R.L. Stine books, Paul Tremblay Survivor Song, All the White Spaces by Ali Wilkes, and then it starts all my Stephen King. So I have first hardcover edition of Pet Sematary, The Stand, one of my favorites, The Eyes of the Dragon, Misery, Another one of my favorites, Fairy Tale. And then I have one of his collections, Nightmares and Dreamscapes. And then moving down to this last shelf here, I have 4 Past Midnight, another short story collection. Then I have this cool paperback edition of The Shining. I found this at an antique store. Then I have books 1 and 4 in the Dark Tower series. I have Cycle of the Werewolf. I really enjoyed this. It's a great short read. Next is The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon. And then, of course, one of his big chunkers, It, The Institute, another one of my favorites, Salem's Lot, The Body, another one of my favorites, The Mist, The Langoliers, and Elevation. Not one of my favorites. This book, as short as it is, it just doesn't really hold a lot of weight to it. But quick read if you want to get into it. And then last on this shelf is this sweet watercolor painting that my wife made of the twin suns in Tatooine. She is a great artist, so I had to display that. So, all right, that's it. That's the last shelf in this collection.
Well, hey, that's a wrap on the bookshelf tour. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I loved making it. This was such a fun video. If you haven't yet, go ahead and check out Reformed Reader. I'll link him down in the description below. Go to his channel, see what he's all about. I think you'll really enjoy it. Again, thanks for watching this. Take care and God bless.